Hi, welcome. Welcome back, Lakshita. Lakshita was saying that she missed 2 whole live lessons. Can you hear me? And about your ability to hear me. Let me know in the comments if you can. It looks like my sound might not be coming out of where it should. Let's see. Oh, okay, great. You can hear. Awesome. It looked like my hi Nick, hi Nosteron. Okay, cool. Hopefully we're good. It said my connection was unstable for a second, but as long as you can hear me, then great. I'm not sure if the sound is coming from my microphone or what. Let me give you a quick overview of what to expect. So, we are going over diminished chords, which sound like this, and augmented chords, which sound like this. So, if you were at my live lesson on chords in general, you've already been exposed to these types of chords, but we are diving in deeply into both of those chord types today. The reason I'm focusing on diminished and augmented chords together is because in pop music, they're less common. So, most pop music is comprised of major chords and minor chords. Occasionally, you'll get a diminished or augmented chord thrown in there, and that's really fun when that does happen. Some examples that I'll play for you are This Love by Maroon 5. It has a diminished chord in there. And Oh Darling by the Beatles has an augmented chord. I have a couple more examples as well to share. But in general, pop music is a little bit uses those chord types a little bit less. If you are a jazz musician or you're really familiar with jazz music, then these types of chords happen all over the place and they'll probably sound a little bit more normal to your ear. Um, all right, so let's start with diminished and augmented fifths. So we'll start with a diminished fifth, also known as a tritone. And quickly, how to build a diminished chord, just reviewing for anyone who wasn't at my last chords lesson. We build a diminished chord by singing or playing a minor third. In this case, this is C to E flat, and you can sing that with me, starting here or down here. Okay, so that's in the 4th octave or the 3rd octave in the piano. C, E flat. Now sing E flat, G flat. That's another minor third. So minor third and another minor third. And all together it creates this kind of scary sounding diminished chord. You're used to singing minor thirds, lullaby and good night, but you might not be used to singing diminished fifths. So that's why we're going to start right there. Here's the exercise I want to do. Sing first a perfect fourth. Remember that interval happens in Here Comes the Bride. Here comes the bride. So we're going to sing a perfect fourth and then a diminished fifth, just a half step bigger, and then a perfect fifth. Twinkle, twinkle. Okay, so all together it's going to go perfect fourth, diminished fifth, perfect fifth, and then we'll walk back down, diminished fifth, perfect fourth. The reason I'm having you do this is because you're probably familiar with the perfect fourth, da 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 da, and you're familiar with the perfect fifth, da da, twinkle twinkle, or beginning of Star Wars, da 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 da. But you're probably not as familiar with that diminished fifth. So we're orienting ourselves with what we know. So we're kind of sandwiching something we know, something we don't know, and then something we know again. Okay. Listen and repeat. I'm going to give you the pitches. And if you are a person who checks your pitch against a chromatic tuner like tuner.ninja or another chromatic tuning app, you can confirm whether or not you are singing the correct pitch. First up, this perfect fourth is going to be C to F. Go Go ahead and sing. Diminished fifth is a C to G flat. And sing da da. Now perfect fifth, C to G. And sing. We're walking down, C to G flat. Go ahead. Last one, C to F. Perfect fourth. All right. So let me know in the comments how that diminished fifth feels for you. For me, it feels very unstable. Da, 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 da. It's kind of hard to find. And if this is a new interval for you, I recommend you walk down, at least in your head, walk up or down from the interval that you're more familiar with. So that could be I sing a perfect fourth in my head, da, da, and then I go up a half step, da, 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 to find that diminished fifth. Or I could go the opposite way. I could sing a perfect fifth first, if that's what I'm familiar with. Da, that's still my C. Da, da, perfect fifth. Now I'm going to make it smaller by a half step. Da, 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 da. Got it? Fabian says unstable as well. So hope that made sense. Again, I'm going to type our I'm going to type our interval songs in the chat. So a perfect fourth. Here Comes the Bride. A diminished fifth. Maria from West Side Story, or the Simpsons theme. Both of those have a diminished fifth in them. And then perfect fifth, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or Star Wars. Okay, try that again with me. We're again going perfect fourth, diminished fifth, perfect fifth, diminished fifth, perfect fourth. And I'm playing for you on the keyboard, so you don't need to have those intervals memorized just yet. Here you go. Perfect fourth, diminished fifth. And sing diminished fifth, perfect fifth. And sing perfect fifth, walking down, diminished fifth. Sing diminished fifth. And last one, perfect fourth. Sing perfect fourth. So now you can really feel that da da. It's right in between a perfect fourth and a perfect fifth. It's da da, right in the middle there. Okay, now we'll practice singing a diminished chord. And since we've spent about 5 minutes now on the diminished fifth, it'll feel a little bit more settled for you. It'll start to feel a little bit more normal. Okay, so building that diminished chord again, starting at C, we have a minor third to E flat, and then another minor third to G flat. Sing with the piano this time. You could sing do, 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 or really any syllable you like. Here you go. Let's walk back down. So we'll go do, 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 do. Ready and sing. All right, let's start to take this for a walk. So that was C diminished. I'm now going to play D flat diminished. Or C sharp diminished. Here it is on the piano. Listen first. And sing. Do, do, do. Those pitches, if you want to check if you're in tune, are C sharp, E, G. Again. This time, walk up and back down. Do, 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 and go. Nice job. One more before we kind of roll through a little bit more smoothly. This is D diminished. The pitches are D, F, A flat. Ready to sing? Just going up. Do, do, do. Sing. This time go up and down. Do, 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 and sing. Nice job. Here's the challenge. I'm going to play the chord, see if you can pick out the individual pitches without me arpeggiating them for you. What do I mean by that? I'm going to play and I'll play it in the lower octave as well. Your job is to listen for those individual pitches of the chord. So for example, can you hear do, 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 do? It's okay if you can't today. A quick tip though for you is to listen for the bottom note. So listen to the lowest note being played and then see if you can build that diminished chord on top of that lowest note. Okay, so here it is for high voices first, and then I'll play for low voices. Give it a try. And let's check. Or you could have sung. Yeah? Try it low voices. Listen for the lowest pitch. One more time. Are you singing? Or let me know how that's going in the comments. It's a really good step to take from singing an arpeggio with the piano to being able to identify those individual pitches when the piano's just playing a chord. Okay? Leah or Laya saying that's too low for me for both of them. How about this? This should be okay. This is for higher voices. And check. Is that what you were singing? Or low voices, your turn with the same chord. Last one. Are you singing? Or all right. Good. Let me know how that's going for you. So I want to play you two examples of a pop or contemporary song with a diminished chord in it. So the first example that I mentioned before is This Love by Maroon 5. The chords for this starts with a G7 over B, goes to a C minor, goes to an F minor, and then it goes to a D diminished, and I believe they throw the 7 on there too. They do. So this song, it's I was so high, did not recognize. See if you can sing along this time with the chords. Hear that diminished chord? You probably did not notice that anything was weird about that chord progression before, but now you know, ooh, that kind of cool sound is due to that diminished chord I hear. Here's another example. This is if you're familiar with Friends in Low Places. Well, I've got friends. It's a country song by Garth Brooks. It starts, well, I guess I was wrong. I just don't belong. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. If you're familiar with the song. So it starts with an A and then a B diminished and then moves to a B minor. All right, so you can hear that within context, it doesn't sound weird. It actually doesn't even sound scary as we are used to the sound of a diminished chord, right? In context, there it is. But it doesn't sound scary because it's in the context of this major sound and it's just moving along to the next chord. I would say in This Love, it had a little bit of a kind of scary or unsettled feel, at least to my ear. All right. So if you want, let me put the at least just the titles. So This Love, Maroon 5, and Friends in Low Places for examples of diminished chords. Sorry, my laptop is shaking when I type on it. But I encourage you after this live lesson to listen to those songs and see if you can point out the diminished chord when you're listening. Okay, let's move on to augmented chords. We're going to go all the way back, dial back to an augmented fifth and learn the difference between that and a regular perfect fifth. Okay, so start. That's the sound of an augmented fifth. So we're going to walk from a perfect fifth, remember that's twinkle, twinkle, to an augmented fifth, 1/2 step bigger. And then we're going to go to a major sixth, augmented fifth, and then perfect fifth. So same procedure as before. And let's find some interval songs. Again, our perfect fifth is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Our augmented fifth could be The Entertainer. Da 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 da. If you're familiar with that old kind of ragtime tune. So The Entertainer. Bum bum. Can anyone think of another example with that? Either minor sixth or augmented fifth. Da da. It's hard to think of examples. I'm gonna put The Entertainer, and then, Cromwell, what song is that? It's called The Entertainer, and it's a ragtime tune. And then major sixth, ba, ba. If you're familiar with the old NBC chimes, NBC, it's called The Entertainer. That's what that song was called. Yeah, got it. Okay. So major sixth, NBC chimes, or My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie. What's another example of a major sixth song? Trying to think. Major sixth song examples. If anyone has a good one, let me know. Those are the two I normally use, but let's see if Earmaster has some more examples for us. Major six. Oh, this is great. Dashing through the snow. The beginning of My Way by Frank Sinatra. And now I see it clear. Oh, there's so many, you guys. Hush, Little Baby. Hush, little babe. Wow. I'm so glad I looked this up. So I just went to this website. This is a a tool, a resource that I use quite a lot with my own students. So you can click that and make an interval song chart for yourself. While we're at it, let's look at the minor sixth or diminished, no, augmented fifth. The Entertainer is the first one on there. We Are Young. Da, da. I'm not sure what part of the song they're referring to. They have a lot of examples on here, but we'd have to listen to them. In My Life. Ba, ba, life. In my. Is that it? In my life. That doesn't sound quite right to me. Anyways, for now, The Entertainer is our best bet. Okay, so we're starting with a perfect fifth. That's C to G, listen and repeat. Perfect fifth. Augmented fifth now, C to G sharp. Augmented fifth. It's a really pretty interval. And now C to A, major sixth. Singing major six, walk back down. Augmented fifth. Last one, perfect fifth, and sing. One more time just to feel the distance of that interval and how it relates to intervals you probably already know. Perfect fifth. Sing. Augmented fifth. Half step bigger. Do, do. Last one, major sixth. And sing. Do, do. Walk back down. Augmented fifth. Do, do. Perfect fifth. Sing. Do, do. All right, so again, you could start from what you know, da, da, and then go up a half step, da, da. Or you could go 1, 6, and then go down a half step, da, da, as a way to make it to that augmented fifth. All right, let's build an augmented chord together. Remember, we have a major third and then another major third. All together, we're singing to start C, E, G sharp. Give it a try. All right, go up and down this time. Do, 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 do. It's pretty funky to sing. Try it. Yeah. Very fun. Let's move to D flat augmented, or that's D flat, F, A. Try it. Walk up and down. If you know how to build a major chord, all you do is raise the fifth, and that gives you an augmented chord. So if you know how to build a D major chord, D, F sharp, A, you keep the D and the F sharp, you raise the A by 1/2 step. So turn that A into an A sharp. Now you play D, F sharp, A sharp. All right. Let's sing Listen and Repeat. And sing. Go up and down this time. Go ahead. Ooh, so fun. Okay, next I'm going to play the chord and then I'll play it for low voices. And your job is to pick out the individual pitches without me giving them to you. For example, again, it's really going to help you to listen for the lowest pitch you can hear. Da, there it is. Da, 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 da. And then we'll check. Or if you want to keep it a little simpler, just make your way up. Da, da, da. Another way you can do that is think major third, and then another major third, major third. The interval songs that we often use for major thirds would be Kumbaya, Kumbaya, or Oh When the Saints Go Marching In, Oh When. Let's see if there are any others that might help you out. Obla Di, Obla Da, the Beatles, Obla. Morning Has Broken, Cat Stevens, Morning. Michael rowed the boat ashore, Michael. Okay, so there's a lot of different examples. Where this gets tricky is you've got to restart once you've reached the next pitch. Okay, so in this example, I have to think major third, oh when, and then start again, major third, oh when. And that's really tricky to do. It is tricky. So that's why you have the piano here to help you. I'm not having you make this up from scratch. Okay, give it a try. High voices. I'll play it again. Let's check your pitch. Or if you went up and down. Low voices. Let's check. Or this is tough stuff. So if you are getting this, great job. It's way, way easier to do this kind of ear training with major chords and minor chords because, again, our ears are used to them. We hear them so much. Nastaran, you are picking out the individual pitches of the chord without me playing them. So for example, let's do another one. High voices first. So the example is you hear the chord, and then you're picking out do, 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 do. And then we're checking with the piano to see if you got it. All right, high voices, here you go. I kind of gave you that one. So can you hear do in the piano? And do, and do. So you're picking out the individual notes without me playing them. Now we're going to check. Or for low voices this time. Let's check. Or perhaps you went. All right, I'm going to play a couple examples of pop songs or contemporary songs with augmented chords in them. One of the best known examples is the very beginning of Oh Darling by the Beatles. So it starts with an E7 sharp 5. In other words, E augmented with a 7. If that is confusing you, ignore me. Just know that it is an augmented chord. So you would come in and sing, Oh darling. Okay, but the very first chord that you hear is this Oh. I wish I had a pedal. All right, so listen to the original. See if you can hear that really funky at the very beginning. That's an augmented chord. Okay, another example, and I will put this in the chat. So, Oh Darling. And then my second example I'm going to play is For Once in My Life, the Stevie Wonder version. For Once in My Life. Those are both good examples of contemporary songs with augmented chords. Okay, so for once in my life. Okay, that's where the melody is. And we have this F and then F augmented and then F6 and then F7. Okay, so the chord progression, I'll play it a different way this time so you can really hear that augmented. There's F major, then F augmented, and then it goes to a chord called F6, and then F7. So for once in my life, I have someone who needs. And then, just to make it even more fun, we have G minor, then G augmented, and G minor again. This is a perfect song for you to pick out augmented chords. Again, that very beginning, you're going to hear. There's that augmented chord, and then F6, F7. Sing along this time if you want. You would start on for once, 1, 2, ready, go. For once. Listen to the original, see if you can pick out that augmented chord where it happens. But those are two excellent examples, especially because they happen right away. And again, it's so interesting to hear these chords in context. They don't sound weird. They don't sound out of place because they have been composed, put into the song in a way that feels so natural and is just a part of the chord progression. So, for example, I'm going to stay with For Once in My Life just for a second. We have F, A, C as our F major chord. Then we have F, A, C sharp as our F augmented. Then we have F, A, D for our F6 chord. And then F, A, E flat for our F7 chord. So that top note keeps moving up in half steps. C, C sharp, D, E flat. And it sounds so natural, so good. While we're on the subject of chords, I found this really cool resource today, and I want to share it with you. It's not specific to diminished and augmented chords, but it's a pretty cool resource. Lucas is asking, can you do augmented chords in chest, upper chest, and head voice, or maybe just chest to head? So, Lucas, it just totally depends on where that chord is sitting in your range. If it's, here for me, Ba, ba, ba. That would be all chest voice. If we moved that chord up, ba, 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 getting into upper chest voice. If we moved it up, it just depends on where that chord sits in your range. Um, okay, so this resource that I just shared with you, if you would open that up in a different tab, I'll just explain it. So this is chords in keys for all major and minor keys. Not a great title, but it is it is a good resource. So if you scroll down, you'll see that you can select a key. So it's just the default is C major. So make sure that that's selected, but it should be. Then you scroll down and it tells you the chords in the key of C major are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished. Here's where we have some crossover with today's lesson with that B diminished chord. Um, the thing that I didn't understand until I played with this website a little bit is you have to press and hold for the chord to ring. Okay. So if you just click it, it's going to be really fast and then done. But if you press and hold, it will sustain. Okay. So I think this is a really cool resource because it has the chords and the pitches to make those chords. So you see it says C major, C E G, D minor, D F A, E minor, E G B, and so on. So you can find chords that belong in any key. You can practice exactly what we're doing right now. So, when you have me, I'm here to give you a chord, for example, C major, and I'm here to give you the pitches, and I'm telling you C, E, G, and checking to make sure you're in tune and all that good stuff. This is a really cool resource that you can use on your own. So you can test yourself, test your ear by clicking that chord, and then you can test yourself to see if you're singing in tune by using a chromatic tuner. The way that I would do that is I would have headphones in so that the tuner is not picking up the pitch uh, from the website, so that the tuner's only picking up your pitch from your microphone. Make sense? So, headphones in, I play the chord, and then I test myself. I see, can I sing the pitches of that chord? Do, do, do. Or for low voices, do, do, right? And then you can see, did I actually get those pitches or not? And you'll just go nice and slow, do, do, do. And that chromatic tuner, either tuner.ninja or an app, if you use an app for that, will show the pitches you're singing. And you can compare, was I singing a C, an E, and a G, or was I not? Okay. So, pretty cool resource. I've been looking for something like this for a very long time and just happened to stumble upon it on Reddit today, looking up diminished chords and stuff. Um, it also there's other resources here too. So at the bottom of the page, you can go to the C major scale, different modes, lots of really cool stuff for you. So I'm excited for you to use that. Okay, my friends. We've sung diminished chords, we've sung augmented chords, we've done a lot of things. The last thing to do before we get to Q&A time, which is typically last 15 minutes of the 1 hour lesson. It might be a little bit longer today. The last thing we'll do is add sevenths onto these chords. Okay, so I'm going to look up a handy dandy chart. And we'll start with diminished. Okay. Okay. I'm looking up a resource for you as well so that we can follow along. So here's another resource for you, how to form diminished chords on piano. And then if we scroll down, we've got diminished seventh chords. So let's start with C diminished. We're singing or playing C, E flat, G flat, and ooh, B double flat, which is technically the A pitch. So it's minor third, another minor third. All right, that is how you form a diminished seventh chord. We also have something called a half diminished seventh chord, and that's where we have the diminished chord and a minor seventh. Ooh, what a nice sound. Sorry. So it's not on this page, but instead of playing the A or the B double flat, you'd play the B flat. So again, that would be C, E flat, G flat, and B flat. Half diminished seventh. Or you also might see that on a chord chart as 7 flat 5. So if you say C 7 flat 5. Or no, it'd be C minor 7 flat 5. That would be how you would see that notated. Okay, so diminished seventh sounds super scary. Half diminished seventh, not so scary. Sounds kind of pretty. Okay, and last one, augmented seventh chord. How do we form that? Okay, C augmented seventh chord, we have C, E, G sharp, and B flat. It's an odd chord. Again, if you want to sing that, C, E, G sharp, B flat. So it's C augmented plus a minor seventh. All right. Didn't want to dive too deeply in that, just a little intro that if you wanted to add sevenths onto these types of chords, you absolutely can. All right, my friends, it's time for Q&A. Get those questions in. We have a little bit more time today. So feel free to ask. It can be related to chords and music theory, but it doesn't have to be anything related to singing or vocal technique or vocal exercises. So be my guest. Get those questions in. And while I'm waiting for those questions, I will just let you know when our next live lessons are going to be. And I'll actually let me pull up the calendar with what's already scheduled so I can let you know the topics as well. Might as well do that. Okay, so next will be October 26th. How to Sing with Mixed Voice Part 2, because we've covered mixed before, but we're going to cover it again because it's such a big topic. November 3rd is Do You Know Your Major scale ear training, which will be really fun. And then November 9th, how to sing after, oh my goodness, got a couple different titles here. How to sing when your voice is recovering, or singing after illness or strain. Okay, so the dates are there, the times are also in. Just look on the YouTube channel to see what is scheduled, add it to your calendar. Mariam is asking, how can we incorporate music theory exercises in our daily singing practice? Excellent question. I would say the easiest way to do that would be with an app that's designed for that purpose, an ear training or music theory app. I like to recommend musictheory.net because it's free, but they do have two inexpensive apps, Music Theory, I think Theoria about musictheory.net, because that's a free resource and it's a great place to start. Um, Nosteron, how do you create augmented and diminished chords? So if you watch from the beginning, Nosteron, we covered how to create diminished and augmented chords. Diminished chord is a minor third plus another minor third. So C, E flat, G flat. Augmented chord is a major third plus another major third. C, E, G sharp. I often will use Let me see if I can find that resource. Um, Diminished chords. Ah, boy. It's normally, oh boy, I want to say piano something or other is the site that I normally use. Um, but hey, if you just look up diminished chords, there's probably 1,000 1,000 articles on how to create them. Here's one from a guitar website. I couldn't find the piano scales one. Uh, Piano keyboard guide. That's what I normally use. Here we go. So that's a nice free resource. And if you look on there, I can scroll down and look for you. But is that is that the one I normally use? I'm doubting myself. Um, Anyways, Fernando's asking, have you ever heard about a singing straw? Does it really help with vocal strain and strengthen your voice? Yes. So, Fernando, you don't need to buy a special straw. I know people will try to sell you a special straw, and I'll talk about kind of the uh, pros and cons of those different straws. You can just start with a regular sized drinking straw and vocalize through that. It is helpful because, well, for many reasons. Um, but one of the reasons is it provides back pressure to your vocal folds. So think about your vocal folds. They're trying to come together, they're trying to hold your air back, and that's a lot of work for them. So, what singing through the straw does is it creates a bit of closure so that it sends back some air to your vocal folds. So now that air pressure is balanced out a little bit. Um, so the singing straw, there's a couple different ones. Some come with like a kit of differently sized straws. There's another one, I think it's called the Uvu straw, that it has holes on it. So you adjust the amount of resistance by covering or opening the holes on the straw. Essentially, you start with a regular sized drinking straw. And then, if you want to increase resistance, then you would go to a smaller diameter straw. So, think like small coffee straw. Another way to do this, again, that would be free to very, very inexpensive, would be to get a couple different coffee straws. So, say start with three and then remove and then sing through two and then remove, and you're singing through one coffee straw. But for most beginners, regular size drinking straw is the way to go in the beginning. So let me get a couple of resources for you. The first resource is a blog article from Voice Science Works, really great website. And here's a an article from them on SOVT exercises, which is really what we're talking about here. Um, SOVT meaning semi occluded vocal tract. And so they talk about singing through a straw, and importantly, they talk about the benefits of that. So it's a relatively new thing in the singing community, but people love it for reducing inflammation on the vocal folds. And for warming up, cooling down, lots of good stuff. I have a straw warm up as well here on YouTube if you would like to check that out. One thing I didn't include that I wish I had is in order to make sure that you are doing it correctly, you can take a cup of water and sing into the straw, "Ooh," into the cup of water. And what you want to look for is bubbles and sound at the same time. Okay, so for a lot of people, they'll make bubbles or they'll make sound, but they're not doing both. And what you want is moving air through the straw, actually singing through it. And if you're doing that correctly, you will get bubbles and sound. Um, VK's asking, does language affect your singing? I think it can, depending on the language. A lot of singing has to do with our vowels. So think about, the difference between an Italian ah or a Spanish ah. There's kind of a different tone there. Um, American, sound. So I do think that that's probably where most of the effect would come from is the vowels that you're used to singing. Um, Lucas was saying beginners often have trouble going from chest voice to head voice. Can you demonstrate singing normally and then explain? Okay, so Lucas, it is very normal to sing to have trouble going from chest voice to head voice. I would say most singers, I really have not encountered a beginning singer who doesn't have trouble going from chest voice to head voice. So, what normally happens to beginners is they have a crack. They go, ah, and they're in chest voice until they're very abruptly not in chest voice and they've cracked or flipped into head voice. So the ideal over time is to start to train a more gradual transition. There's still a little bit of a shift happening. Ah, ah. It's more subtle though than this really, really magnanimous crack happening. And the vowel really makes a big difference. So I can do a much, much smoother transition on an ooh, ooh. No crack is detected there. So that's actually a really great way to start training for yourself is using some narrow vowel like an ooh, ooh, going from chest voice to head voice. At the beginning, though, if you're a beginner, you might still be going ooh and having that really, really audible crack. Another way to start working on that transition would be with those semi-closed exercises. So singing through a straw, singing on a lip trill, or singing through a straw. That will help to make those transitions a little bit smoother. It's a little bit high level, but what helps a lot of times, well, one thing that helps is getting a little bit of control over your larynx so that your larynx is not rising and causing you to shout. Um, it's almost impossible to have a smooth transition coming from a shout. So if you're going that is never going to lead to a smooth transition to head voice. So I was working with a student earlier today. We were doing kind of some dopey exercises. Ooh. And we were imagining as we ascend that we're kind of getting a little bit yawny or that our vowel is going from to and in that way, we were able to start to smooth out that transition. Whereas before, my student was going and then cracking. Um, so all of those things together, training on a narrow vowel like an ooh, considering kind of slightly dopey exercises to gain some control over the larynx so that it's not just automatically jumping up and causing you to shout. And then using some semi-occluded lip trill, straw, things like that, slides. I hope that helped. I'm going to take a drink of water. I was asking what are some videos on YouTube for hand movements in singing, and I'm not quite sure that I understand the question actually. Do you mean hand movements like gesturing while you're singing? Um, if that's what you mean, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any. I'm sure that you could look some up, but I don't have any that I've personally watched to tell you, hey, this is a good lesson. What I would say though, if that is what you're talking about, I would say that we always want your movements to be natural and to support the story. So it's not great if I'm singing and I'm going da da and I just have kind of a random movement that isn't furthering the story or really making a lot of sense. So I would say be guided by what feels natural and what supports what you're trying to say, because that's what we're doing when we sing. We're communicating. So if I'm telling this really heartfelt story and my hands, make a fist or they push out in front of me and that feels emotionally authentic, then great. But if I'm just adding, now I'm going to gesture like this and now I'm going to punch my hand up, unless that's choreography that you were instructed to do. Uh, anyways, Nick, what is your method to not overthink a challenging note in a song? I sometimes worry too much about hitting that challenging note correctly. Oh man. So, Nick, I would say give yourself permission to fail. Give yourself permission to crack. Give yourself permission to not sound good for a time. Um, I can relate so hard to that question. I'm afraid of sounding shouty or strained or unstable or weird, and oftentimes that causes me to kind of pull up and back. And that's never a good way to hit a challenging note, pulling up and back and freezing. So I have to give myself permission to crack and maybe to get a little bit shouty or for my tone to sound less than ideal. Um, and then I can start honing in and start troubleshooting. Um, that to me is a really important first step. Then in that troubleshooting process, then you're asking yourself, all right, why is this challenging? What's my tendency when I go to this note? And what do I need to do to counteract that tendency? So if my tendency, for example, is to go for this note and let's say my vowel is going really wide, I'm going, then my troubleshooting might be instead of so kind of dialing, I'm obviously exaggerating, but dialing in the vowel that is going to help you reach that challenging note, dialing in how much pressure from your low belly do you need to be giving, how much kind of oomph under the sound, what volume, those kind of go hand in hand, like how much intensity, how much volume, leading up to the note. What are you doing in the 3 seconds before that challenging note? How are you setting yourself up well for that challenging note? Could you start to create a little bit more space? Could you, where are you breathing? Anyways, and then I would say that third step, so once we've like given ourselves permission to fail and then troubleshot and found kind of the exact way that we can sing this note well. Maybe a part of that process is singing on a syllable that usually works for you. Um, then I would say step 3 is practice, repetition, reinforcing when you do it well. Uh, and not letting it bother you if you kind of fall off the bike a little bit, but really take time to celebrate when you hit it and it sounds good and it feels good. Celebrate, tell your brain that's important. I want more of that. So often we do the opposite. We focus on the mistakes. And we have this really strong emotional reaction to mistakes, and we don't really have a strong emotional reaction to when we do something well. So try to teach your brain and teach your body that you want that, however you hit that note. If you did it well, woohoo, let me see if I can do it again. And celebrate yourself for that. Um, Repetition, practice makes permanent. And then I think visualizations as well. Visualizations are super helpful. Not for every singer, but for a lot of singers, also getting into your body more than your head. Squatting, giving some sort of physical movement that allows you to not freak out over that note. Lots of times squatting or pushing the hands down, um, things like that. Uh, I'm throwing everything that I've got at you. Yes, yes. So, Nick, I think most of us need to do a better job at celebrating ourselves when we do something well, instead of just feeling like relief, like, "Oh, okay, that I didn't suck," you know? Um, anyways, it's a really interesting thing. One of my favorite teachers, I talk about him a lot, John Henney, he talks about, the fact that we create the conditions for whatever sound we're about to make, but then that final moment is kind of just being a passive vessel for the sound and letting the sound happen. Instead of, hitting a note and then trying to control it, you know, hit the note and let it happen. I think that would be, I guess, the fourth step. All right, my friends, I know I've got to let you go. I hope you had fun singing these kind of funky chords. I do recommend you listen to the original versions of those four songs that I mentioned. Whatever they were, you can look in the chat for those. This Love, Friends in Low Places, the Stevie Wonder song For Once in My Life, and Oh Darling. I can't remember. I can't believe I remembered them. Okay, I will see you next week. Much love. See ya.